showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
I want to welcome everybody out today to episode 242 of I Am Salt Lake podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Chrissy Shelley.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back week after week as we continue the journey in Salt Lake City, where we get an opportunity to sit down with locals, professionals, everyday people, and find out their story. Today on the podcast, Scott and Justin from Salt Roads joins us. They join us on this episode. We catch up a little bit with them. They actually were on episode 12, but it was nice to bring them back and find out what they were up to.
They've been up to a lot since then.
They really have. We'll get into that, though, in a minute. Mm-hmm. What's been going on, Chrissy?
Oh, there's always something, isn't there? We just finished. We went to the Get Media Ready event.
This was a great opportunity to be invited to for the podcast.
It was so great. It was just imagine being in a room full of people who know all the answers to your questions before you even know what your questions are.
Entrepreneurs, media insiders, just business owners. Mm-hmm. It was incredible.
It was really great. It was a red carpet event for business owners to attend and really learn how to push into the new world of media.
And they invited the podcast. They invited I Am Salt Lake, both you and I, to come there and sit and record some interviews. We got some great conversations.
Yeah, we really did.
They'll be up over the next few weeks, though, because there were so many of them that we got.
Yeah, we might have to make 2 episodes.
Probably even more than that. I mean, 2 or 3. I mean, there were some great conversations.
They were so good.
With some great people. Mm-hmm. Really excited to get those up. Great people there. We also went to the Greek Festival. We actually went there on Friday night.
And we ate.
Oh, man.
A lot.
Right around the corner from our apartment so we can smell the delicious food. I was like, Chrissy, we got to go over there for dinner.
Yeah.
We got some great Greek food.
It was so good. And then we went and got Greek dessert.
I think that was your favorite part.
It might have been. The salad was good. But man. The salad was good. Cheesecake, baklava cheesecake. Holy crap.
With pretty good stuff, huh?
Oh,
well, I didn't eat
my
any of
gosh.
that.
You didn't. Yeah. And I'm sorry for you because it was so good. But those Greeks, they know how to cook, man.
They know how to cook. We got to go inside the church, the Greek Orthodox Church.
I've always wondered what that was like.
Got to check out the museum.
Mm-hmm. And I had no idea there was such strong Greek heritage and culture here in Salt Lake.
So many Greeks.
It's huge.
Here. I mean, so many Greek businesses, so many Greek people. Early 1900s.
It's incredible. I mean, because no one talks about it. You don't really realize that is such a big part of Salt Lake. So I want to learn more about it.
Maybe we'll do an episode about that down the road. Let's talk about our sponsors, though. Got to give some love. I love our sponsors.
Me too.
They are some great people. I want to talk about the makers of Holy Guacamole. They're excited to announce the Live Holy Festival Saturday, September 17th. So that's this upcoming Saturday, actually, depending on when you're listening to this. If you missed it, I'm sorry. It's taking place at the Sandy Amphitheater. It's absolutely free for the public to attend. Mm-hmm. The Live Holy Festival will be filled with live music, food, and headlining band Cold War Kids. And local bands Joshua James and Fictionist are playing it as well. Show starts at 4 o'clock. But we want to invite you to come and hang out with us.
Come say hi. We're going to be there all day.
Well, I want more than just coming and saying hi.
Oh,
come and hang out.
Hang out with us. We're going to bring blankets.
Bring a blanket.
And a picnic basket.
Are we bringing a picnic basket?
Maybe. It would be fun.
It would be. Maybe some dinner, some sandwiches.
Yeah.
But come and hang out. Plan on hanging out. Drop us an email or get in touch. Say, hey, I'm planning on coming to this show, and we'll figure something out and arrange that as well. We're actually also doing a giveaway for a set of VIP tickets, meet and greet for Cold War Kids. The link to enter the giveaway are on the show notes for this episode, and I believe you're making a little banner.
Yes, there will be a banner. Just go to iamsaltlake.com, click on the banner, and enter to win.
Yeah, you just put like your name, your email, and we'll contact you. We'll probably contact you Wednesday night. So if you can get your votes in, or not your votes, entries in before midnight. What is Wednesday's date? Wednesday this week. I wish I had it on the top of my head.
September number.
It doesn't matter. But this Wednesday, the week that this podcast comes out,
14th.
September 14th. Mm-hmm. Get your entry in there. We'll contact you via email if you won. Meet and greets with Cold War Kids.
I mean, how can you pass? I wish I had that. I wish we could win that.
Well, we're going to hang out on the blankets and enjoy the music.
That's right.
And again, Live Holy Festival. I mean, many thanks to them for sponsoring this podcast and all their support. And I'm going to have a link up at iamsaltlake.com/242 to check out their website because they have quite a long web
It's kind of a long URL. Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to remember. But also, Distillery 36. We're actually drinking some today for this recording.
Yes, we are.
Gotta love these guys. I mean, great local distillery. What are you drinking? Oh, you're drinking something delicious, Chrissy.
Coke Zero. Vanilla Coke Zero.
With Brigham Rum.
With Brigham Rum, and I can't even taste the Brigham Rum.
Is that, well, some
so
people
smooth.
might like the taste, though, of rum, right?
Well, maybe. I mean, this is the smoothest rum ever. Yeah. Honestly, I don't like rum. I think I've said that multiple times. But it's just, I don't know. It's almost like a vodka.
But you like Brigham Rum.
I love Brigham Rum.
The official drink of I Am Salt Lake podcast.
That's right. They keep us going.
Keep us going, keep us focused, keep us functional.
That sounds really bad.
Yeah. Distillery36.com. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you, Distillery36.
They're amazing dudes.
for sponsoring the podcast. Oleo Skin and Beard.
Gotta love Oleo.
Gotta love these guys for sponsoring the podcast as well. Great local company. Great people.
I do love the new scent of beard oil that you've been using.
Something familiar.
Something familiar.
I know we chatted a little bit about it in the last episode.
It's really nice.
I love it. It's just a nice manly smell.
It is. It's not overwhelming. It's just kind of the right amount.
But I love all their beard oils.
And I want to try their salt soaks that you can put in the bath. They have some great salts that you can put in the bath.
Who takes baths though anymore, Chrissy?
Me.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, I don't know.
Light some candles.
I don't know.
Salt in your water.
Beard oils, beard balms, beard washes. I know they got skin oils for you, Chrissy.
Oh yeah, and skin scrubs and masks. The kelp and clay mask, awesome.
Awesome, you love them.
Yep.
They're at really all the downtown farmers markets, Park Silly. Oleoskin.com is their website. As well that you
so
can
anyone can order it from all around the world.
Order it right there from the website, get it delivered to your door. But before we jump into this episode with Scott and Justin, I want to talk about our Patreon page, Chrissy.
Yes.
A lot of people are even unfamiliar with Patreon.
Yeah, which makes sense.
It's an ongoing Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's a great way to support your projects that you believe in or that you love or that you want to support. We set up a Patreon page for the listeners of I Am Salt Lake to support a little bit.
Yeah.
Give back to the podcast. And for being a Patreon supporter, I believe it's like $5 a month. You're a Patreon supporter. You get some unreleased episodes, some unreleased content.
We'll be putting out bonus content.
We just actually are in the process. We finished recording a Comic-Con, our thoughts on Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And we decided to put that in the Patreon feed.
Our Comic-Con experience. If you want to know about it, visit our Patreon page.
So we're going to be doing more of that. You can go to patreon.com/IamSaltLake, but there's also a banner.
Yep, there's a banner on our website. So you can just go to iamsaltlake.com and click on the banner.
And we're going to put some videos up there as well and some different bonus content as well. And it's a great way to support the podcast.
And if you want to get to know us a little better, that's the place to go.
That's the place to go. I'm going to quit talking. Both Chrissy and myself, we're sick of talking for a little bit.
We're
going to jump into the interview that we did with Scott and Justin from Salt Roads, find out their story. So without any more talking, like we said, here's that interview. Thanks for listening. I don't know where to start with you guys.
Oh, man.
Because you were on the podcast before, episode 12. I guess we can kind of get into the transition of Project SLC to Salt Roads.
What the significance of Salt Roads is. Scott can get into that.
I don't know. We could get. I mean, we're recording. We could get started. I mean.
Yeah,
I guess we'll start there. I mean, I guess
so much.
I can give you a little more of an intro. I mean, it's a
national
very harsh.
music.
It's a very
abrupt.
Abrupt intro because we go back and add another intro to it. But I'm going to have you guys start since you were on episode 12 of the podcast, which was virtually 4 years ago. I mean, you guys have come a long ways. The podcast has come a long ways. It's almost like a brand new episode, in my opinion.
So good. Oh, no, absolutely. Plus, I don't think a lot of people Project SLC and Salt Roads are so different. It is almost, I mean, there definitely needs, I think, to be a, like, hey, this is who we were. You can go back and listen to that. But there's definitely a huge transition in that it's more or less a brand new episode, I think.
Absolutely. Well, there you go. So we have Justin Smith, Scott Vargas.
Hello.
Yeah. So we are recording right now.
Right? What's that?
We're recording. Oh, yeah. I apologize. I thought we were.
You're fine.
Well, good thing I've got my podcast voice on already.
Yeah.
That helps out a lot.
You thought we were just catching up?
Do you have a
I thought we were
podcast voice?
I can definitely. So I mumble a lot and I talk really loud. So basically, I just sound like I'm intoxicated at all times, apparently. But so when I get on a podcast, I make sure to like the unique New York, and I try and speak more clearly.
I like that.
A little bit slower than I usually do. But when I get excited, it's all out the window. So
You and I have the same problem.
Well, let's have
just
fun.
mumble.
I want to get you to start mumbling.
come on,
I want you to have fun.
and car drive real fast.
That's one thing I want people to know. Like with I Am Salt Lake, like we're here to have fun. We're here to get to know people. We're here to know your projects. I guess. Let's start with another question for people that aren't familiar with Salt Roads. Just give a quick description of that. Who wants to? Maybe do you want to? Give
I've been
that
talking a lot, Scott.
or-
Now that I know that we're recording.
So I guess the elevator pitch would be, it is essentially an online magazine dedicated to the arts and culture scene of Salt Lake, but not just to be exclusive to Salt Lake, to the state as a whole, but not to limit to the state. It can be as far as global if you really want to argue it that far.
Scott's a future politician, can you tell?
So you made it expandable so you can continue to grow it.
Yeah, absolutely. As you have national touring acts moving through Salt Lake City, obviously people who live not only just across the country, but around the world, if the act is big enough, will in some capacity obviously follow that artist. And the idea is when it's that large, when it's that macro of a level, you want to be able to dial in coverage specific to Utah and kind of put them side by side. This act that's at this global level is showcasing also alongside like what's so great about Utah at the same time. And we hope that we can kind of put those two together.
It's kind of cool because it puts all artistic endeavors on the same level. Like these are all people who are doing cool things,
Absolutely.
no matter how well you know them or not.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I like that.
So we focus most of the music. The original kind of concept flowered, I guess, bloomed when we realized that in order to find shows, you had to go to the Urban Lounge website, the Kilby, well, those are the same ones, but the Complex, the Depot, or 24 Ticks, you kind of had to go to all of these different places and you couldn't see any videos and you couldn't see any music of what was going on. Since that time, I would like to say we were the originators. There's a lot that have kind of popped up since then where you can click on a show that's coming up at Kilby and you can kind of see, you can buy tickets and you can see a music video at the same time. And so that's kind of what we started with. But we realized just the calendar wasn't going to necessarily bring people in to begin with. So we started doing photography at shows. We started doing interviews with bands. We've done interviews with Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. We've done interviews with Cayucas. We've done interviews with
and these are actually podcast type interviews.
Yeah,
right?
so right now we're reformatting them and getting them on the new website. Those are all under Project SLC. We did interviews with Panic at the Disco, Revolution.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some really big bands. Panic at the Disco was, we know someone who knows someone, so that made it a little bit easier. But this was all bootstrapped,
Sure.
We just go there, we contact the management, we contact the PR, we would send a photographer, and we really just went with it. Almost like a podcast where it was like, you got to start somewhere and you just go. And so we realized that after a while with Project SLC, we really wanted to get more philanthropists. Man, I should have practiced a little bit more. But we wanted to really start kind of giving back. But after we did that for so long, we realized that we were really doing two different projects.
Sure.
And so we rehashed out Project SLC into Salt Roads. And the Salt Roads calendar is more or less the same thing as Project SLC, but we realized that Salt Roads could be something that could go national. As soon as we figured out exactly how to make it work with the culture and everything here in Salt Lake, you can expand that out by IP address to Portland, to Boise, to Denver, whatever else it is. But really what we wanted to do, and the main concept, like Scott was saying, was to have a Quiet Oaks or the Weekenders next to Mumford & Sons on a calendar. So people aren't going to say, hey, this is a national touring band and these guys are local. They were together. They're on equal planes, and the same person that can see who's coming in August is going to see everything instead of just the top acts that are coming through.
To show you how long ago it was, Polestar was the main calendar that actually did a fairly good job of consolidating different venues to one page. Is
Polestar even around anymore?
I honestly,
I don't believe so.
I haven't checked in years.
Yeah.
I don't think that it is. Having said that, it was at that point that we realized you only went to Polestar or a similar style of website to look for artists that you knew. And you brushed over a lot of great musicians because you're looking for your bands of your interests. And that's when we realized that, one, people are inherently lazy. I think people naturally seek the path of least resistance. And if they can't hear that group right there on the spot, they're not going to sit there and take the time to copy and paste or bring up a separate thing in Google. So we created the idea to just have everything right then and there within one click to expose a Quiet Oaks while looking for a Panic at the Disco. And I think that that's really the uniqueness of the calendar, that you have now seen a lot of other websites kind of steal that model in some way, shape, or form.
We can say integrate. So we
integrate
don't call
that model. Sure.
Thieves.
Replicate.
Well, and the best part about that is to build off of that. A lot of the Polestars and a lot of those have since gone kind of the way of the buffalo because there's no culture involved. So Songkick, which is not Songkick, sorry. There's a local company, Spingo, this local company, raised $2 million for basically the same concept that we were kind of running with. Well, they're kind of still trying to transition and figure out how to make money off of that because there's no culture behind it. They were going from state to state and selling to City Weekly and Slug and, San Diego newspapers and so on and so forth. But that wasn't paying the bills because there was no City Weekly could do it themselves. Slug could do it themselves. And they realized that and ended up kind of backing up and ending their contracts with this company. And it's very interesting because there's so much culture involved in music and the community, just like, the I Am Salt Lake podcast. You meet these people and you say, hey, the community is rallied around us and that's what makes us survive. And there's companies that are doing a lot of very similar things to us that are raising $2 million, but still can't seem to get it to go. And, it's a lot different when you can go downtown and say, I know these people and here's what I need from them. And I know that I can help them and they can help us. And we can network through that, if that makes any sense.
Like a great idea and a sense of community are two different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, you can have a great product, but if you are bad at getting people to like you, no one's going to buy your product, if that makes any sense. It's like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And not to get political. I mean, but people are buying that product. But nonetheless, you know your audience. You either sell a product that people want or you know exactly which audience and you really bang that horse.
So why the change then from Project SLC to Salt Roads?
Well, when Justin left for, 9 months?
9 months.
In Spain.
Which I want to talk about that actually too at some point here. I mean, I find that fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go for 9 months to Spain.
I'm a pretty fascinating person. You can ask me whatever you want.
But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No. So essentially when Justin left for 9 months, we lost all the momentum that we had been gaining because I couldn't do the project in and of myself. I needed Justin here, and when he's across the ocean,
the pond,
it was really hard to get the things done that we needed to get done. Sure. So by the time that he got back, it kind of just felt like everything had completely died. And at that point, I'll pretty much just flat out admit that we learned as we were going and made a lot of mistakes along the way because we rolled with the punches, so to speak. And this just seemed like a great opportunity to start fresh, just to completely start fresh, only to repeat the same mistakes because we didn't learn our lessons the first time in a lot of ways. But so essentially, we decided to rebrand and give ourselves that whole fresh start and try to correct some things that we didn't quite think about at the time because we were so excited about the project initially that we just made impulsive decisions without thinking about how those decisions would affect us in the long run. So
I did when Scott was gone. That's really what he means. Scott's in the military, so when he would leave, I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm going to do all of these things while Scott's gone. And Scott would come back and be like, okay, cool. So can you fill me in on what you've done while I've been gone?
In your head, were you going to like surprise him with all these great ideas?
Surprise, we're awesome. Well, the hard part is I'm a big picture guy, and Scott's the meticulous like planner. And so I'm like, we're going to do this, and these are all the great things. And Scott's like, okay, hold on. Like, let's tone it back a little bit and do this step by step. And I'm like, no steps. Let's tally ho. Let's do this.
a perfect example of this is
Sounds so familiar.
Yeah. That's how Chrissy is with me.
Yeah.
when I got home from my 2009 deployment, we had got a house together. It was myself and Justin and two other of our friends. And they had this great idea of doing like family portraits. And they were really stoked on the idea. And I was also very stoked. I was about a month out from getting home. And when I came home, they had already done the family portraits.
That wasn't my fault.
Well, it's not Justin's fault per se, but so when they put the photos on social media, they tagged me with an American flag to represent me in the photos. But it's just a good example of
They put an American flag in it instead of you.
yeah.
Well,
Photoshop, guys. Photoshop.
No, yeah, right. We were so bad at graphics. In our defense, Todd Hare, our other roommate, his sister-in-law was just starting photography. And so she had a certain amount of time to actually be able to go and do the photos. I really don't know why we didn't wait. Like looking back 7 years now, I don't know.
It's not Justin's fault, but for the sake
Hare.
of this podcast, I'm
He works
trying
for
to blame
Solar
it on
City, so
Justin
blame
to
it on
illustrate a
Musk.
point. So.
We can go all the way to the top with this one.
So when we decided to rebrand it, we wanted to create a name that would have meaning for Salt Lake City and for the great state of Utah, but not hyper-localized to the point where that's all we could do. And I was reading a book called Salt, A History of the World, and this particular part that I had been reading about was talking about the importance of salt roads. It was salt was essentially the currency at that point in time, very important. And there were these specific trade routes that they referred to as salt roads. And so salt, I mean, it's pretty given, Salt Lake City, but it's pretty much a parable, so to speak, of the roads or the journeys that these artists, not just exclusively to musician, but any artist takes, and how essentially art is a currency which we all live by. I think we could all agree that the world's a pretty rotten place. But
I love that, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was so much meaning behind your name.
Scott's a philosopher.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, I think it's great.
And so that's why we chose the name, is we wanted
That's
to highlight just how vital art is for so many reasons, to escape just the brutality of everyday life. And so that's what the whole meaning and significance behind the name and why we switched that. So Salt Roads, Salt Lake City, but also just this incredible journey that we want to witness and document of not only just local musicians and artists, but national and
Because
global.
you want to take this on a bigger scale, right? Like you want to kind of go globally, obviously, with it. So, I mean, that's why it's great with a name. I mean, name like I Am Salt Lake, it's kind of hard to move to LA or New York City, right? I mean,
Well, it was like with Project SLC. We had pigeonholed ourselves, but also, like we said, we had gotten ourselves into too much because we wanted to really do nonprofit after school programs. And we actually have that in the pipeline as well under a different name and kind of different things that are going on. But really, we want to focus on this, get it, the new website all taken care of, get all the interviews up, start doing interviews with bands live again, as well as, when they're touring in and different things like that. I have a little podcast room at my house. And so really what that takes, any developers that are listening, we had a really good developer friend that was helping us out that ended up bailing to do a different project. So if you know Python and you're listening to this, contact me at justin@saltroads.com because we would love to.
do you know Python, Chris?
I don't know Python, but I know Python developers.
We would be.
We'll talk more.
Yeah, we'll talk more after. But yeah,
She's a UX designer.
Yeah.
So that's where maybe you guys
I
could
dabble in programming, but not Python.
I did see, and I want to learn Python now. I think my brother used to do Java and like C++, but that's all old school. And
Well, Java's still good in Android development. I could get really nerdy on you.
Yeah. But you're all right. I work with developers and
you should do
engineers all the
Python,
time.
man. That is such a great language to know. Like I mean, a lot of the most powerful websites are built with Python.
Well, and ours is about 85% built with Python right now.
So it's built
thesaltroads.com.
So we've rebuilt our entire website. It's actually really, really cool looking. Evan, who also works at Pluralsight, did a really good job on it. The issue with building it with Python is it's very fickle. So sometimes we'll have issues where we can't post and we can't. So we don't really want to get down and focus in on the podcast and all of that and the interviews and so on and so forth until we really realize that our site's not going to go down and we're going to have all of this content and stuff that all of a sudden is gone.
Sure.
And so that's kind of what we're working with right now. And so Evan is still there to kind of patch things up if it goes down. But that's definitely our biggest stumbling block right now that we have to get past in order to really get things going again.
So did he build you guys your own custom CMS?
Have you not seen it?
Well, no. I've seen it, but
Yes.
like how you get in and put up information. Like he actually,
he's
that's awesome.
So
I was like, this is a great WordPress theme because in my brain,
Oh, no.
everybody just uses WordPress because it's easy and cheap.
that's what I did. Well, and that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is WordPress couldn't do what we wanted. So he actually created it where our website is amazing. So it actually goes day by day, and you can scroll all the way down to it. But
Yeah, it's like infinite scrolling.
Yep, and
it's a really cool site.
and so I have to input those individually.
Thank you.
So, yes, thank you. First off,
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
It's kind of so I
And
have.
that's a lot coming from her.
It is a
by the
lot.
way.
I'm-
I know
he
you don't
works-
know Chrissy.
He works with
very well, but-
UX guys. Evan really did. He worked with some of the other UX guys that he knew and really made sure that it was done right. But as you know, sometimes doing things right takes a long time to do.
A really long
Yeah.
time.
And
And
so-
then only certain people can make changes or fix it.
Yep. So he built all the CMS integration on the back end, which all of us can do. However, if we have a little hiccup, we call him at like 2:00 in the morning and are like, "Hey, Evan, our website's down." Or when we post on Reddit and we're like, "Hey, give us some feedback," and they're like, "It won't work on my browser." Shiz.
That-
Well, we gotta go get it
that's
figured
so
out. I don't know if I
hard.
can cuss on your podcast.
you
I'm pretty sure that I can.
You're free to cuss.
Shit, we got to figure this out.
Oh, now I got to add the
Yeah.
explicit tag on your iTunes, right?
Great. More people are going to listen now because it's explicit.
No, you would be surprised. People want to come here for the dirty words.
Sometimes we just sit and swear all day and then upload it.
I'd listen to it.
Me too.
No, because I remember like your original calendar that you had with Project SLC. I mean, and now the website at saltroads.com. It's I mean, and I know
beautiful.
you didn't see it, Chris.
No, I saw it. Well,
the
I didn't see
original one
the
back in
original
Project
one.
Oh, the
SLC.
original one was.
But I've been
that was done on
Googling-
WordPress.
Okay, yeah.
Just imagine episode 12
Well, you
in the
should have
form
seen
of
what she
a
said
calendar.
about the podcast website when she first saw that. She was like, "Oh my gosh, this is hideous."
I didn't
So that's why I'm
say
saying when she said as a compliment that she thought the website. I mean, that's coming a lot from her.
I did
and I didn't
not.
even pay her to be nice to you guys.
Well, the
tonight.
cool part is so I actually posted it on Hacker News and was like, "Hey, we need some feedback." And the guy was like, "I'm not even from Salt Lake, but it's really fun just to scroll through this and look at some of these shows that are coming."
Sure.
And a
And so-
sincere thank you to Evan for all his hard work and his time. And,
And shout out to Pluralsight. He's a Pluralsight dude.
He's been coding since he was like 9. He almost
Nice.
went over and worked for Google. He's above and beyond awesome.
and he's just a salt of
They
the
have
earth. He really
they
is
have
a great
some of the
person.
best people up there.
So
work
do
for
you
them.
guys get any support from local venues? I know it seemed like back when I chatted with you before, there wasn't so much. You were kind of having to go to the individual sites to collect the information. Are you getting any of that directly from the venues to you guys?
So the
or
hard
how-
part is rebuilding the website. We have to get the clicks.
Sure.
There are most people we know from the venues, so we know the Metro Bar really well. Jeff Hacker and those guys
Sure.
are still very supportive. I've got Rick Shoes, Jordan Clements, all those guys in my phone that I can call and say, "Hey, do you guys have tickets we can give out?" And they'll say, "Yeah, you push this show. We'll get you tickets to this show, whatever it is."
Sure.
And then Sean Crosland, who also works with us, more of our community outreach. He's also a teacher at Slick. He works also as a bartender at the Stateroom. So we have a really good relationship with them as well.
Nice.
And so a lot of it's just us doing the footwork now and not asking for anything until we really need it.
Well, I wasn't sure, like, if you're having to collect all the dates still. You know,
Oh,
what I
I'm still
mean?
putting
By,
them in.
like,
I'm
going-
still. So they built a scraper, so it'll go on. We have certain sites that they scrape for information, but I have to go in, check them, make sure everything's good, and then post them.
Nice.
So I'm still going in one by one, but it's been cut back by about 90% of the time it used to take me. It's
Again, thanks to Evan.
technology. That was actually an idea by Nate Smith, who disappeared off the face of the earth. He does jumps in Draper all the time. But yeah, they built us a scraper, and it basically takes all the events and puts a lot of the categories into it, and I just have to go fill in a couple categories and post it, and it saves me a lot of time.
Do you put a lot of time every week into this? I mean, like, how much time do you think you're putting in a week into
It'll
this?
take me, so for me to load about 100 shows, it would take me 6 hours.
Sure. But
So-
you're still
Pretty
doing
good.
it. I mean, what's keeping you driven to keep doing this? I mean, especially we were chatting before you came in here about how you've probably been doing this for 4 years or so, just like with the podcast. I mean, what keeps you going?
Every time we start over, I wonder.
Yeah.
But then once it's there, it goes pretty quick. But like when I have to reload like 1,500 events, I kind of am like, why are we doing this? And then once we get it done, I'm like, okay, cool. We have this. And so I like it. I like it because I used to be that kid, and Scott can give you a different answer, but I used to be that kid that would go on mp3.com or any of the old MySpaces when music was actually there and go find new music. I was the guy on LimeWire downloading things that were supposed to sound like brand new and Taking Back Sunday and just finding all of this new music. And that's really where this came from, was sitting down and saying, I know I like shows at Kilby, so instead of just going to the shows that I know that I like, I'm going to click through all of these and I'm going to start Google searching some of these other bands. And I like doing the calendar because I get a really good pulse on music in general. Because as I'm loading these up, I can listen to the YouTube, I can listen to the songs that are coming through, and I can say, this is a show I want to go shoot. This is a person I want to interview. And we've been to shows that there were us. And these bands were just absolutely incredible. And the only reason we knew that they were there is because we were loading this calendar up.
To kind of take a different answer from Justin, being probably military, I've had some pretty unique life experiences, to say the least, and some pretty restless and sleepless nights. And music, but art as a whole, not just to exclusive music is the only medium that's been therapeutic, but it's really helped me. And I think it was Nietzsche who said that life without music would be a mistake. And I very much enjoy and appreciate these people's talents. They deserve to be celebrated. They deserve to be recognized, not just for the talent in and of itself, but the gift in and of itself and what it can do for other people.
Sure.
So if we can, in some small way, shape, or form, provide a medium for them to receive that recognition and gratitude from people, it's definitely worth the time to have that. Even if we never made any money whatsoever, I would be incredibly happy with looking back on all of the experiences that we've had. I grew up listening to Me Without You. They were one of my favorite bands and still are. And being able to go and have sushi with them on multiple occasions after their concerts has just been a blessing in and of itself, and a very unique experience that my 16-year-old version of myself would have never believed that was going to happen to me. Just like Justin, I too religiously scoured the internet. Pure Volume.
Pure Volume, that's the one. That's the one.
And
I couldn't remember it. That was it.
And so, yeah, I think that's why we keep doing it despite the frustrations and not only that. Yeah,
pre-shows. we can hit up about any show that we want and say, hey, can we come take photos? And they're like, yeah, here's 2 tickets.
That's
and
awesome.
So we can go to see almost any show we want.
So are both of you do the photography, or is it just Justin, or Scott does it too?
Both of us.
Yeah, we both do.
It depends on what shows. We have a very similar taste in music and a very opposite taste in music. And so sometimes there's shows that I want to go see that he doesn't really care about, and then vice versa. Or a lot of times we'll go together and I'll go take photos, and then he'll take photos, or so on and so forth.
Sorry, I kind of cut you off there. I was going to ask you, I don't know if we talked about it when you were on before, but did you go to school for photography, or where did
School of Hard Knocks?
where did the interest in photography come into your life?
Getting into shows for free.
Is that what it was? You were just like, you pulled out the 35mm camera and you're just
for Justin,
the Nikon 3500.
Yeah, for Justin, he learned on the fly. And
thank you to Dave Brewer and the Photo Collective. They've actually sat down with us and gave us really, really brief tutorials on which lenses to use and different things like that. So shout out to the Photo Collective for that kind of help.
And as for me, I did take classes in high school.
I did too.
But
those are like the old like
high school doesn't count. I took French in high school.
True.
When we were like developing, we had in Layton High where we both went. That's actually where we met. They actually had an old development room where you develop your own film. But anyway, sorry.
Well, actually,
Nice.
now that I think about it, I've been taking photography courses since 7th grade with Mr. Nolan at Fairfield Junior High, and I kept through it with high school. But when I joined the Marines, I lost a little bit of my personality and identity because that's just what they do.
They beat it out of you.
Exactly.
Oh.
And coming home from it when we started this, I was still kind of in that process of rediscovering my old self. So truth be told, I forgot a lot of what I was taught. And again, thanks to other people, but also just on the job, learning as we go. And we started small. We bought a Nikon D35.
Stock lens.
Yeah, stock lens.
We had like Mendoza, who shoots for the Complex. Awesome guy. He's got like 3 cameras, all with these extended lenses, and they were nice. Eric Olson, all of those guys, all of the Meredith Newsom, and a lot of those guys we've worked with, inviting them to take photos for us. But everybody has stopped and actually, instead of like scoffing or being kind of mean about kind of the device and the camera we're using, if our photos are taking weird or we're shining lights in faces that we're not supposed to, a lot of them will stop and actually help us fix our cameras.
Nice.
Without being rude or derogatory at all.
That's so nice.
The community has been absolutely amazing.
I have a question, Scott. Did you, when you came back and you kind of started getting back into photography and maybe remembering those roots a little bit, did it help you kind of rediscover yourself and get back your passion for things in the civilian life that you loved before?
Oh, absolutely. So to kind of go back to that previous question that ties in together as to why we do this, that is definitely a large factor for me. It's nice to have something that's your own. I'm sure, Chris, you feel the same way having your own podcast, to have something to pour your heart and soul in and to give yourself meaning and purpose to try to serve in some capacity, which you do a fantastic job at, one, highlighting our great city and our great state, but also these people who in and of themselves work so hard to do their thing. And so that's kind of another thing is now that we've kind of invested ourselves in this, I've definitely found a lot of therapy through it and have definitely rediscovered who I kind of once was, and I'm slowly gaining my personality again, which is awesome. And it's nice to be able to go from having this Nikon D3500 with the stock lens to, now owning a Panasonic GH4 with a Sigma 18-35 1.8 and a Metabone speed booster. So
I assume that means good.
I was just going to say that went over my head.
That goes over my head. That goes over my head.
I use an iPhone 6.
I'm still Snapchatting when I go to the shows. So
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Snapchat. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, when you're there, but I'm 6'2", so I get like stuff thrown at me, and people like get mad at me for taking photos. I'll go in this like annoyingly like white or like neon shirt, and then I'll talk to the guys at the photo collective or like Eric Olson, and they're like, "Hey, you should probably wear black when you take photos." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably a good idea." I wonder if I was at the Dropkick Murphys getting beers thrown at me because
for real? Because
because I'm just too tall.
Oh, and so you were wearing a light shirt like I was wearing, it would be just people would
distracting
have to
for the show.
Okay.
So here I am in the photo
I don't
pit.
think about that kind of stuff.
Oh no,
you don't. Hey, do you think about that kind of
well,
stuff?
Think about when you go to the ballet.
I'm like super short, so I've never.
And she's like, and taking it up people's dresses or something.
Yeah. But when you go to the ballet or if you go to a show, when they switch props, they're all in black. You don't see them.
Yeah.
And that's how the photographers are supposed to be as well.
Because they want to blend in.
I mean, they're right in front of everybody. They're on top of they're right in front of the stage. Like, you shouldn't be taking away from the show. And there was times that I definitely was, and that they made it known by throwing stuff at me, and I never made that mistake again.
Yeah,
well, at least you
customs and
learned.
courtesies.
So where can people find photos that you're posting now? On the website or a Facebook page or nowhere?
The Facebook page has got a lot. The website has some where we have to reintegrate them in. We have some from Comic-Con that we've taken there as well.
Are you guys going to be at Comic-Con?
Pinterest.
No.
Interestingly enough, we didn't apply for press passes this year because usually what happens is we try and get press passes. Comic-Con has gotten more and more strict with everything. So if you don't show up to the first press conference and interview like the first 5 people that they put out there, you have to either go through management in order to do interviews, or it's really complicated.
Now, what do you mean interview the first 5 people?
So last year they had Herschel from The Walking Dead.
We got press passes. So how does it teach us? I don't know.
What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, so let me break it down from the first year that we went, when Scott and I did it, with a shotgun mic that wasn't working, with a kid named Austin Hatch, who also has been there through a lot. We were getting interviews with Lou Ferrigno, with
no shit.
Wow. Yeah, with what's his face, Hercules, super Christian dude.
Yeah.
Kevin Sorbo.
Basically, the only ones, like Danny Glover was there, but we would have had to talk to his people. But we could just walk up, and when they had time, we'd talk to their manager and say, hey, when they have 5 minutes, can we do an interview? We got 2 of the Doctor Who's, the guy that was in Luther. Like, it was this cool thing. We just had to just hang out all day to get these interviews. The next year came along, and it started to get a lot more strict. Well, last year when we went, they had the first press conference that they do, and they actually had like the Yellow Ranger. They had all of the guys, the voices from Animaniacs, Herschel from the Walking Dead. And I didn't know this, so I was like, we can wait. But those were really the only ones that they were letting you interview, unless you were a news source or you had contacted the management or PR group in advance. Okay. So we could no longer just walk up to them and start asking them questions. So this year, we actually will technically be there, because Breezy Weeks, who is family of mine, more or less, will be there. She's married to Dallin Weeks, who plays bass in Panic at the Disco. They'll be on a panel, actually. So they're doing a panel on Thursday and Friday, one on Doctor Who and one on The Walking Dead. So Salt Roads will be there through them, but we didn't actually get press passes this year to go take photos and all of that. I'm sure that if we called them, we could probably just get our press passes and go in and take care of it.
So can you not take pictures if you don't have press passes?
No, you can take pictures anyway, but that's the hard part. Anyone can take pictures. Mm-hmm. There's certain panels you can't get into, and you can get into them with press passes. And even that got more difficult when they did the Matt Smith Doctor Who panel. They weren't letting press in. You actually had to buy the pass.
Really?
And so Breezy had one, and so she went in and took pictures, and we have pictures of Matt Smith on our Instagram and different things like that. Hats off to Salt Lake Comic Con for what they do. Hats back on for how they treat the press.
I gotcha. It was tough. We didn't know. I mean,
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Like
they told us we'd get notified by a certain... Well, I had to ask them. Yeah. Then they said, we'll tell you this day.
Yeah.
And then they never said anything.
And so it makes it very difficult to make plans.
They were good. They were good with us. Last year we didn't get ours back. And I just started to berate them with emails. And finally they were like, we sent them out. And it was in my junk mail.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. What I would encourage is their Twitter page. DM their Twitter page, or Mandible on Twitter is the person that runs their social media. Just hit her up and say, hey, this is what we're doing and this is who we are.
Well, we got
but you have them now. But next year, if you ever have any, what I've learned.
Harass people.
So I work in social media as well. So if you like digital media and advertising and all of that, if you can't find the business, you usually just find who runs their social media and then you harass them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I know you run the social media for Comic-Con. How about you let me know what's going on? No, everyone knows. So she's going to get hassled all the time. I apologize for all of the hassling that she's going to get after this podcast.
So what's
my contact information?
Back to Salt Roads. What do you like least about doing it?
Calendar.
Yeah, the meticulous aspects that if we had the money to
outsource to India or college kids
or something to that effect would be fantastic.
Do some old school data entry.
Yeah,
$10 an hour.
Entry, yep.
Absolutely.
But then they still do it wrong, and I'd still have to go in and fix it.
Sounds like you know a lot about this.
Yes.
If you could go back and do it all over again, what would you do different?
If we could go back and do it all over again, I think the most important thing for us to have done would have been write it down. The importance of a business plan, I learned the hard way. I should say we learned the hard way, because we had all these ideas up in the air, and without taking them out and actually putting pen to paper and saying, this is what we're about, it just seemed like we were wheels spinning in the same place, because it seemed like every time we were meeting and having a conversation, it was a new idea. Something else to add to it.
We're going to get our own space, and we're going to do live shows, and we're going to be the KEXP of Utah, and we're going to this, that, and the other.
And so and I find it ironic that Justin talks about me being this very meticulous planner on small detail things, and even I myself did not write things down at first. So
I'm very polarizing. It's very easy for me to get people excited about whatever I'm doing and be like, all right, everybody, let's cheer. And then everybody runs off and is like, what are we cheering about? What are we going to do?
So writing a business plan would be crucial if we could go back and do that again.
We have one for Project SLC that needs to be,
But, we've learned our lessons. So now we have pen to paper. We've got a business plan written. We have the structure, and we've actually conceptualized like, no, this is what we're about. And until we get good at this, until we're very good at this, until we're the experts, we don't move past this. And
Did you hear that, Chrissy?
I didn't. What? I didn't hear anything.
No, well, okay. This is one thing. I like about Chrissy, and one thing I dislike is Chrissy will.
Tell us how you really feel.
No. She'll bring.
He's gonna break up with me now. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
10 things to the table, and I love it because you have this going on, this going on, this going on. But it's like sometimes I just want to focus on one thing until that's done.
It is a problem.
Yeah, but I do like that because there is an energy that gets brought to that.
It's called the ADHD.
It's called the ADHD.
Have you met
You
Justin?
get it from a toilet seat.
No, I don't know though, but I see where you're coming from, Scott. Though with that, it's like
Clone High. You got to look it up. It's a great show.
otherwise it will all just crumble, in my opinion, and that's what I'm afraid of.
That's what happened with Project SLC. Yeah. I can agree because we had so many things, but everything was half-assed. So we were doing all these awesome interviews. One of the biggest heartaches was delegation. When we needed someone else's help with something, a lot of times we never got that material back because we couldn't do it ourselves. So we had to recruit somebody, but it had to be a joint venture because it had to work out on both sides. And then what would happen is in the long run, a lot of times we would never see it.
Sure.
So we would get photographers that were super excited to come shoot our shows, and they would shoot the first one. And then after that, all they would do was request bigger shows. And sometimes they would shoot bigger shows, and then we would never get the material back because it would never get edited. So one of the things that is hard that we want to do but almost can't do is everything ourselves. So that's why he's got the camera that he has. That's why I have my podcast equipment. That's why we really are bringing everything in-house so we don't have to rely on anyone else. So we can do all of our own editing and changing and photos and interviews and everything ourselves. So that way, when we get this really cool interview and it's 4K and everything's badass and it just never actually gets online, we can actually do all of that ourselves. But also, instead of half-assing what we've done, making sure that we have the right materials and we know enough of what we're doing to actually put quality content out there.
I'm actually really excited about our plan. Essentially, as soon as we find the developer and can finish the website, it's pretty much just going to concentrate on photography, videography, and podcast, and doing it well. To the best of our abilities.
As well as I can do it, yeah.
And you guys have day jobs too, right? No?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you manage your time?
Well, concerts are at night.
Well, true, but I mean, you still got to...
Editing's a very long process.
Easy answer.
Editing's rough, but I don't do it.
Yeah.
And when I do the podcast, I cut out very little.
When Justin's talking about the painstaking hours of doing the calendar, I get to chuckle to myself, but as soon as we start talking about editing, that's when he gets to kick back and relax. Editing is a very daunting process, and I'm still learning to be more proficient with it. So I'm a little bit slower, which is a little bit more frustrating. But like your podcast, for example, you just have to do a very large volume of work. I mean, from episode 12 to what is this, episode 2?
This will probably be about 242.
And
242.
And the most important episode you've done to date.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
No, so it's week after week and practice and experience. But at the same time, it's like you want to manage your time because you got to make time for family.
Sure. I mean, I'm a full-time student. I work full-time. I
take my wife with me. She takes photos.
So your wife, I mean, she's pretty supportive of what you do?
My wife would be supportive if... My wife has dated a lot of musicians in the past, so she's used to people not really living up to their obligations. And so the fact that I live up to my obligations works really, really well.
You got Chrissy over here laughing.
She understands. She's like,
I understand so hard.
Those poets, they like to bleed, don't they? But yeah, so no, my wife is very supportive, but it's also vice versa.
Sure.
So I'm very supportive of the things that she does, but she loves it. She loves photography. She's actually very extroverted, introverted. So she used to play the drums. She's really good. She's basically part of the group. Anytime we go anywhere, my wife is there, and it makes things very easy. So it's not like us and you. But she used to take a lot of the photos. So when we went and shot the show for NoFX, she's a punk rocker, AFI, NoFX. And when Fat Mike came on stage, he looked down at her in the photo pit, and she just stood there with the camera looking back at him, and then realized that she had to take photos because she was awestruck, and then went along her way to do it. But
That's kind of awesome.
She really she likes it because she doesn't like being in front of people. So she couldn't play the drums in a band because she had stage fright. And so taking photos and having to go in front of 5,000 people and take photos with this little camera that you can tell is not adequate for what everyone else has. She does really well, but she's also part of it. So we can go to shows together, and I can do the interviews before, and she can go take the photos, and then we can go home. One more thing that I very much dislike, if Urban Lounge could start an hour earlier so we didn't go home at like 2, 3 in the morning, that would also
I
be
like
awesome.
that idea.
And add a photo pit, but I know that they lose room.
I knew that. Didn't they have to start later because of the business next door where Rye was? It's
And
like
then they
kind of the
bought it.
story that I heard, and now that Rye is
They
there, it's
start
like,
at
well,
8.
let's start earlier.
Well, the
now.
hard part is some bands as well. Like they get in later, or they don't want to play till later. Like I'm not sure exactly why, but I know that was one, the noise ordinances and different things like that. But I know Kilby Court has to stop right around 10 because of the noise ordinances in the neighborhood. So I don't know why it wouldn't be the same with Urban Lounge.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. I forgot about the late night shows. That's the worst. That's actually the worst
When
part
you have
about
to
it.
work the next day and you have to. So I used to live in Salt Lake. I'm in South Jordan. He's in Bountiful. And so
wow.
having to drive out to Urban Lounge, stay till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, so we went and saw Foxy's Shazam show out there, and they didn't start until at least midnight. And I lived right across the street, and that still was hectic. And so some of those shows, they don't go on until 1 o'clock in the morning. And you have to take photos in a really dark room, and everyone's like, just learn to shoot low light. And it's like, it's not even just low light. Like, you can't get close enough because you're showing up late because it's already 1 o'clock. And you can't get close enough to the stage to take pictures. So you have an extended lens, but the photos don't and so most of our photos that we had other people take at the Urban Lounge, they cut out the noise is what it's called, all of the little things, by just making them black and white. And I didn't realize when we were getting and recruiting other photographers to shoot the Urban Lounge, why they were always in black and white. But it was because that they were trying to reduce the noise of the low light camera. I love shows at Urban and Kilby. I do not like taking photos or staying out super late at Urban.
I'm glad somebody brought that up because, that's been one thing. I stopped going to shows there a while back because of that.
Yeah.
We will sit around and be like, should we go to that show? And then we're like, but we really want to go to bed.
Yeah, right? it's... Yeah. And we don't go to bed super early.
No.
I have a puppy. I go to bed at like 10:30.
But yeah,
Early to bed, early to rise.
I like your style. I like your style. Besides changing Urban Lounge, what's one or two other things that you would change about Salt Lake City?
People talking at shows.
Okay.
Tell us how you really feel.
And Reddit agrees with me. You go to Urban Lounge and you can't hear the band because people are talking in the audience. And you're just like, why the hell are you here? Why did you pay?
Socialize.
Why'd you pay
Sometimes you're there, though,
$20?
you run into an old friend.
But not during,
I guess go outside, right? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
what should you do?
Just don't stand in front of the stage yelling.
or like if you realize that everyone's talking, you could go outside. That's a perfect. Or if someone's performing, like that is their job, that is their gig. People aren't there just to socialize; they actually want to see the show. Mm-hmm. Like if you're at Twilight, like as far as I understand from your Twitter and stuff, you guys don't go to Twilight anymore.
No,
we don't go to Twilight
bands
anymore.
This year that
I see. I like this lineup this year, but
really?
I hate the crowd at Twilight. Can't stand it.
And we live practically across the street from
we
Pioneer
could go
Park.
anytime we want to.
But I guess I'm just unfamiliar with the bands. I need to go to your website to listen to your bands.
Well, the hard part is now the bands that we go to, you walk in and it's like a high school show. And you're like, I really like this band. And apparently everyone under 18 really likes this band as well. And you feel really old. That's why I'm glad I have a wife to take with me that I can be like, oh no, don't worry, I'm not a creeper. I'm married and we're here to take photos. It's totally fine.
It's a little different when you're 28 and single.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I forget that guys have that problem when you get older, that if you go places, people are going to get creeped out or...
Yeah, you're the creepy old dude.
And you stand out. We don't dress the same.
Yeah.
We don't have bleached hair, even though we did in the 90s. Like, it's weird.
I'd say another thing that I would like to change is having things stay open a little bit later to accommodate the culture and lifestyle. The only thing that really comes to my mind at the top of my head is that's open late is going to a place like the Pie Hole, you know, if I want to eat something after a show. And it would be just fantastic if there were more restaurants or just very unique establishments that kind of offered a little bit of a later lifestyle. I mean, I'm not saying that they have to stay open until 2:00 by any means whatsoever.
Which one that just closed? There was a great restaurant on Main Street that closed down. We went on my bachelor party.
That was so long ago, I can't remember.
Yeah.
What about Sundays? I have this thing with businesses staying open on Sundays. You're shaking your head over there?
I'm used to Utah by now. I lived in Spain. Spain, everything shuts down from 1 to 4 o'clock, and you just get used to it. So I worked in the morning at the school. So just again, and I know we're talking about Utah, but just a little background. So I went out there through the Cultural Ambassadors program at the University of Utah. They have it at Weber. It's a really cool program where you can go teach English in Spanish schools. So we actually ended up on the island of Ibiza. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar.
Sounds fancy.
Ibiza is the biggest EDM and party island in the entire world.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't party like that. But Jeff Hacker's a good friend of mine. He's the GM at the Metro Bar. And I remember before we went, my wife and I walked in, and he knows, like, I'm pretty straight-laced. And he looks at me dead in the eye and goes, "Don't do drugs." And I was like, "Jeff, I go into your bar all of the time. You know I don't do drugs." And he was like, "Seriously, though, when you're out there, don't do any drugs." And I was like, damn.
It would have been perfect if he had just given you a Dare shirt as a goodbye present.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Jeff's tattooed down to his knuckles, up to his neck, like one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. And it was just funny because we'd known each other for months, and he was like, not months, years at that time, "Don't do drugs." And I was like, all right. We got there, and we went to one opening party, 5,000 people, and everybody was just gonzo. And that's what they do. They go out there. It's like the European Tijuana. Wow. Where you go out there just to do whatever you want for like 3 days and then go home.
All right. Well, that's where we'll go on
So
our
next vacation?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they have 20,000 people on the island, and during the summer, the 4 months, they get 2 million people into the island.
Holy crap.
So like so if you listen to any of like I Took a Pill in Ibiza by Mike Posner, Tiny Tempa's got Miami to Ibiza. Like, it's a legitimately big party island. Jay-Z and Beyonce were just out there on a yacht off the island of Ibiza. Like, and we just happened to fall into this. Had no idea.
Was it hard to teach everybody?
Well, so it's winter. So it's like Park City. So during the film festival, during winter, there's all kinds of people from all over. In the summer, it's mostly locals.
Okay.
So like 20,000 people. So we were only there for 2 months of summer, and it was pretty crazy. Lots of English people. Wow. And they're weird. English people they're like Americans, where they get as drunk as possible, as fast as possible. And so there's absinthe in like gas stations, and like we're not talking like wormwood, like hallucinogenic absinthe. We're talking like 150 proof.
You got my hopes up there.
But they're like 8 to 9 people jump off a cliff because they're twacked out like once a year. Like, it's crazy. Anyway, but it's a cool place. Like, they do all the EDM stuff with all the people dancing on stage and all the crazy, like. Nonetheless, in Spain, they still have the siesta. So I would get out of school at 12:30-ish. But by the time I got home, everything was closed from 1 until 4. So I basically got used to, like, there's nothing, you can either complain about it or you can just get your shit done before or after 4 o'clock.
Oh, I was going to say, I'd just go to sleep and wake up when everything opens again.
And that's true, but then everything's open later. So they would be open until like 11. But if you wanted to, like, put minutes on your cell phone because you were a foreigner, and you're like, oh, great, I'm out of minutes, I got to go run over at 1:30, they'd be closed. So you'd have to wait until 4 when they opened. And sometimes they just have a sign that was like, at lunch. And then they just didn't come back for like another hour. Like, it's a weird place.
Huh. No, and I agree that you get used to it. Back to the Sunday thing.
Sorry, that was a really long digression.
I love it, though. I mean, that's a storytelling. But
really long digression.
I guess it's just, to me, it's like, some of us want to get stuff done on Sunday, and either every business stays shut or every business. Let's just open up already. It's 2016.
We just go to Epic. We don't need a liquor store. We just go stop by Epic, Wasatch.
Yeah, I think you bring up an interesting talking point. it is a problem depending on how you look at it. I guess if you want to put it in terms of aisles, but I think that's actually a unique aspect of what Salt Roads can actually look into is how is it that arts and culture bridges different philosophies. I myself associate my identity, with a particular theology. It is the majority here. But that's not to say that I don't love and want to reach across to those who don't feel or think the same way as me about how we can solve these problems.
Just come out and say it.
And
you're Mormon, Scott.
Yeah, I'm Mormon.
Yeah.
But it's not
that we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm ashamed. It's just I don't feel like that by saying that makes me a better person.
I for all intents and purposes, am Mormon as well. I just don't go to church.
But so I guess getting back to my point is
do some other things as well.
It does provide us a very unique opportunity to learn how to coexist and live peacefully amongst ourselves. And if you want to think about it on a grander stage,
remember the Mount Meadows Massacre.
We're really at a micro level, refer to what's going on in our country as a whole. So you have different ideologies that seem to be polarizing and becoming more and more at war with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can even take that, what's going at this grand scale, and just put it to what's going on here in Utah. And I think we have a great opportunity to kind of show the rest of the nation how we can solve problems and learn to work together despite our differences. I mean, we don't have to agree on anything to be good to one another. And I think we forget that. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely hear what you're saying, and I agree with you that it can be incredibly frustrating to when you have things that you need to do, but you're being affected by something that you haven't chosen to live for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of just learning to be respectful and finding that happy medium and I think that Salt Roads is actually an opportunity to kind of be in a position to say, well, when I'm listening to music or whatever it is, I don't think about who in the crowd is Mormon and who isn't. That's the last thing that I care about. I'm just there celebrating this moment and what that means. And I think that we kind of need to teach that message, that we don't need to agree. We just need to learn to be good to one another, and we can solve problems together. And I think that's kind of where my mind goes when you bring this point up. And we should be striving for that. And we should use this as a medium to do that. I mean, there are a lot of wonderful things coming out of Provo and their music scene. And if you're the type of person who isn't willing to see that just because it's Provo, and don't get me wrong, there are definitely stigmas about Provo that have earned that right to have those things said. But that doesn't mean that we should just discredit these artists just due to the fact that they might believe that they're LDS or that they come from Provo. I think that's just very immature thinking, and you're just part of the problem if that's the way that you subscribe to your thinking. We really are have a prime opportunity to be the example, to show that we don't have to agree on anything to be good, and art and culture should be the medium in which we do that.
We all agree against Trump.
I like that.
I love it.
Yeah. I told you he's a philosopher.
I know. I'm all inspired and at peace now.
Wow, man! Let's go out and listen to music and drive to Provo.
There's one thing that we can all agree on that needs to be changed, though. Tracks hours need to be pushed back.
Okay, that's huge.
Call.
Yeah. Yes. What is up with that, though? Right? I mean, for reals.
Well, that's the discussion I always have. So, once again, going to the Metro, there was times I chose to take advantage of the things that they provided, and I drank a lot. A lot. But one of the biggest issues that I had was especially late night. So there are basic entrapment for DUIs at all of the clubs in downtown Salt Lake. Mm-hmm. And what that consists of is tracks shutting down at midnight and last call being at 2, and everyone living 2 blocks from their house, because everyone's like, I live 2 blocks, I can make it just fine. And it's like, you're testing fate. Like, that's karma. You don't do it, you're going to get a DUI.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is because there is a lot of money that goes back to the state through DUIs. There's probably a lot more to it, but if you ask me, you can provide more jobs for people that have to work late hours because they can actually drive, take tracks, or their kids will be asleep so they can spend time during the day with them. You're going to drive down DUIs because tracks can actually take people home. And then what you're actually doing is you're promoting more of the nightlife because more people can stay out until later. They don't have to leave at midnight to catch the last train home. They can actually stay until 2 and support these local businesses by spending more money on food or on drinks or whatever it might be. I mean, anyone that drinks that can leave a place without spending at least $50 has done a great job on regulating their spending. But that's a lot of my wife used to wait tables, and she was like, if someone sat down and they ordered a drink, you knew you were going to get a better tip because they never just order one drink. And so understanding that everyone can get along despite having different philosophies and different ideas as long as we're just kind to each other. There's also understanding there's ways that we can benefit businesses by providing normal things outside of our state or outside of our comfort zone or whatever it might be. And when you're getting $2.35 an hour and you're living off of tips, someone ordering 2 extra beers might give you an extra $5 tip or whatever it might be. And you don't really think about that until you're in that service industry or until you're kind of in that situation where it's like, this definitely benefits me. Or you're the one trying to drive your friends home and you've had one too many drinks when you shouldn't be driving, but you think you're okay, you get pulled over and you get a DUI. It's one of those things where I think a lot of that could be curbed, and those people are still, people that are going to drive drunk a lot of time are still going to do that, and I don't condone that in any way, shape, or form, but there's definitely ways that you can curb that.
Yeah.
I'll just go so far as to say that UTA is corrupt. I mean, I'm sure we could have a whole nother podcast just talking about Utah politics and the corruption thereof. I'll just flat out say it. UTA is a corrupt organization.
Thank goodness for Uber and Lyft, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For real, right? So
they're the real heroes.
Yeah, they're the having real to clean up having to clean up somebody else's puke in your car.
Oh man.
Let's run down the list here before we wrap this show up. Or anything else you want to mention for Salt Roads here? So I can let you guys get to bed. I know we're past your bedtime.
No, not at all.
So essentially, like I said, as soon as we find the programmer, we can finish the goals that we have in mind for the website. When that website is where we feel comfortable and where we would like it to be, we are going to start just kicking it out. We have a lot of great ideas as far as content that we're really excited to get going to, but right now we're kind of just at the standstill because we need to finish that website. One thing that we're really excited about is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Roku or Smart TV, Apple TV, those types of products. Well, I'm going to use Roku as an example. Roku is very user-friendly, and it's very easy to get your own quote-unquote TV station, a Roku channel. Doesn't take a lot to get it done. And one thing that we're very much looking forward to, as soon as we have a good collection of media, is actually going to create, starting with Roku because we're familiar with it, our own smart TV channel and kind of having our own, again, with air quotes, TV station per se. Not just to feature our work, but to have just, again, another medium to have other artists
showcased.
Be showcased. And that's kind of like the next big thing that's going to happen for us is, again, high quality content in the way of photography, videography, and podcasting. And then when we have a good collection of that, having something like a smart TV channel to really just get it out there.
Sure.
And with that, I mean, the sky's the limit. These are just ideas that by no means hold us to it, but
hold us to it, please do. That way we actually get it done.
Even maybe I would be really interested at the idea of seeing if you could do original programming at a very minimal level, like just rolling with just a GH4, or even doing things on an iPhone.
Michael Moore's done it for years.
Yeah, we can go ask UTA why they. We'll take a camera and go to the CEO of UTA and ask why they don't stay open later.
Yeah,
but so
journalism,
pretty much like ideas like that. We really are looking forward to diving into all of the wonderful artists here in Salt Lake, but in Utah as a whole, and working with them to have a very unique interface to highlight and celebrate their talents and show our gratitude for the things that those talents give to other people. We're really excited about.
The calendar is there, saltroads.com, as they mentioned. The calendar's there through August. We have a certain issue that we're trying to work through right now to get through September and all of those things. But August is there. You can go look at the UX. It's a beautiful looking site. And then as soon as we have that figured out, we already have the CMS, or we already have the ability to add video, podcasting, all of those things. And so what we're waiting for is just the stability to be really able to launch all of those. And so the future is very bright with Salt Roads. We're really excited for everything that it has to hold. We've got a good team of people behind us. And then what will most likely end up happening as soon as we have that is branching out and going to college students that are in photography classes and different things like that, spy hop, and giving those people the opportunity to go to these shows and get some experience under their belt and help them, in their careers. There's a lot of people that have worked with Salt Roads that have used it on their resumes and different things like that have graduated college and received, copywriting jobs or writing jobs with local businesses using us as references and stuff. So it's a really cool opportunity.
I love it. You guys are awesome.
Well,
You guys are awesome.
Anything you want to add, Chrissy, before we let
You
these
didn't talk
guys
much,
go?
Chrissy.
No,
feel bad.
I'm absorbing so much
she's
of your
tired
guys'
today.
I am
she's
tired.
Can
I
you
only
tell why
had this
Scott and I
much
work well
caffeine.
together?
Yes, it's okay. This has been a fascinating dynamic because you guys are me and Chris. It's ridiculous. I'm just like, oh my gosh, we're looking in mirrors right now.
For those who can't see, Chris and I are like seating by each other. We just naturally
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
Kind of blending into each other a bit.
we're becoming one, while you guys are also becoming one as you're sitting close to one another.
Yeah, that's what happens.
I'm just incredibly grateful to you, Chris. And it's been 4 years since we really sat down and talked. But I just wanted to congratulate you on your hard work and success.
It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go unnoticed.
Time,
Well, thank
effort.
you. Yeah, no, thank you. And I mean, you guys have been supportive in a lot of ways. So
Yeah, congratulations on your success, though.
yeah,
And,
well, thank you.
I feel like we all just meditated together.
I know, right?
You guys
That's
all
him.
feel.
That's
y'all
his
feel,
voice.
He's like, I know. You should be a Buddha or something.
That's
A
why
little tiny
You just
Buddha.
gotta keep me away though, because I sound like the record scratching or like the cat. Like, why is he talking? Just let the nice peaceful guy talk. The loud guy needs to go.
Well, if I never make it as a professor, maybe I'll look into that as a profession. Just maybe working on
Solid.
those therapeutic CDs.
NPR always needs more people on the radio station.
I could do
You
something on
gotta-
NPR
yeah.
for sure. No, I mean, in all seriousness, though, I really did want to thank you and congratulate you on your hard work, but especially thank you for having us back again.
Absolutely.
We love it.
And I hope to have you back again.
We will be on whenever you want us to be. We can talk anything you want.
Awesome.
Well, Scott most likely, because I probably don't know. Get an invite back. Scott, can you come on? Yeah, I'll talk to Justin. No. Scott, just you. Just you.
Any other links you want to mention? You got saltroads.com.
Salt_Rose on everything because the digital media guy ended up botching his job. So there is an at Salt Roads, which is technically us, but at Salt_Roads on Instagram, on Twitter, on all of those nice things. And of course, if you're ever interested in writing or you're doing photography, just hit us up on our website. My email is justin@saltroads.com. We can probably get something set up. The only thing I ask is don't shoot one Kilby Court show and then start asking for every show at USANA, because that happens a lot.
But not just to exclusivize it to photography.
Oh,
I
videography.
mean, we're looking for anybody who
We're
wants to
looking for you.
contribute it any way, shape, or form.
Listener.
We definitely would love to have you submit anything. Again, the website is supposed to function as a means or a medium to gain exposure for yourself. And that's kind of a really interesting problem for us, because like, who are we supposed to decide like what's good and what's not? And
That's why you don't see reviews on our website.
Yeah. So
Oh. It's not laziness.
No,
it's not lazy.
we don't do reviews on our website because if someone pours their heart and soul, sorry to cut Scott off, but if someone pours their heart and soul into something, who are we to tell them that it's not good?
I like that.
So, we'll give our opinions as to like what we like and things, but we're not going to flat out review something. But we really do look forward to having people submit things so that we can put it out there and allow other people to appreciate it as well. So don't just think that it's exclusive to photography. I mean,
But we do receive a lot of emails. So if you don't hear back from us,
yeah, and
be
then
patient.
Mine
or
is just
send
Scott
another one.
at saltroads.com, but we'd love to hear from you guys. And so
Cool.
Nice.
We're probably over our hour.
No, well, it's a podcast, man. There's
Well, I
no
know.
hour.
There's
no hour.
we just talk a lot.
All right. Many thanks to Scott and Justin from Salt Roads for coming on this episode. Head on over to imsaltlake.com/242 for all the links to get in touch with them.
I have something exciting to talk about.
Do you?
Yes. October 1st is the I Am Salt Lake night at Nightmare on 13th.
What exactly, Chris? Okay. What is Nightmare on 13th Night? What is this?
It's a night where you can go torture yourself and then talk to us about it.
And I know you have so much anxiety over this.
So scared.
So we went over to Nightmare on 13th the other night.
Yes.
And you were nervous just being in there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even open yet.
And it was like sunny outside. So
what this is going to be, mark this on your calendar right now. October 1st is a Saturday night. We're going to be set up there. We're going to have a table. From what we understand, it's the entrance and the exit.
yes.
So we'll be outside. You should be able to see us. We'll be there. I think, what did we decide on? About 7:30?
7:30 to 10?
10 o'clock, 9:30, 10, depending, right? We'll be there for
And
a
if you
couple
want to
hours.
hang out, maybe we'll just stick around.
Yeah, come hang out. What it is we're gonna get people to maybe talk about prior to going in and after going in.
We want to hear your experiences.
Yeah, I don't know. It should be fun. We'll see what happens.
It will be interesting. I hope someone's as scared as me.
And then that's the thing too. And so then also you and I are going to go through it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about our experiences going through it.
I'm so scared. I haven't been to a haunted house for over 15 years.
Really?
Because I am horrified. I can't do scary.
Well, you can just hold on to me.
Okay, I will.
You're allowed.
I might tackle you or push you into things.
I'll be one of those dudes that just like pushes. Just here, come on, Chrissy.
You might
Get out of the way.
I might be like in the fetal position on the floor, so you'll have to pick me up and carry me through the whole thing.
We're going to also talk to employees, though. We're planning on talking to employees of Nightmare
Some
on
of the
13th.
actors.
But there is a coupon. If you use the promo code podcast, they gave us a link. We're going to put that up with the show notes as well at iamsaltlake.com/242 for this episode.
Yep.
We're going to get that up. That way you can get discount tickets.
Yes.
Come out that night. I know that discount tickets are actually good for other nights too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, but it would mean a lot to Chrissy and myself if you came out October 1st.
We'd really love to talk to you. And like, we want to get you on the episode. We're going to be releasing a cool episode with people's experiences. Come down and join us.
Come down and join us. It's a Saturday night in Salt Lake City. Nightmare on 13th is right there on the corner of 1300 South, 300 West.
Super easy.
Super easy to find. Just find the castle, the creepy looking castle.
Yep.
And like I said, we're going to be right at the beginning. But follow us on social media. We're going to make some different events, like an event invite for this. And,
Yeah, for
and maybe I think Chrissy's going to whip some
Make a little
graphics
poster
together.
We'll keep telling you about it via social media.
And I cannot wait to take you there, Chrissy.
I am so scared.
Already?
Oh my gosh. Even thinking about it is horrifying.
What is it about haunted houses that you don't like?
Well, I have an overactive imagination.
Okay.
So if I even see part of a zombie movie or a zombie game, I have extreme nightmares. And I think everything's real. So that's why. It's horrible.
Oh, man. I'm looking forward to this night. Maybe we'll even have some extra content we'll throw up there to our Patreon page.
Yeah.
To our Patreon
definitely.
supporters.
I'll give you my real thoughts
You'll give
on
the real
haunted
thoughts.
houses.
But yeah, hey, speaking of Patreon, go to patreon.com/IamSaltLake. That'll take you to our Patreon page. We have some different incentives, some different rewards. I know for $5, we'll mail you an I Am Salt Lake pin, as well as you'll get access to some bonus content, some special podcast episodes. We're going to get some video up there.
It's a win-win.
And, even if you don't want to do $5, $1, be a Patreon supporter for $1, we'll give you a shout out on an episode of I Am Salt Lake. Before we leave this episode, we want to tell you about another awesome local podcast, The Utah Foodie. If you love podcasts, you definitely want to check this show out. They've been talking to some amazing people involved in the restaurant and food establishments here in Utah. A lot of great episodes there. A lot of great establishments that they've talked to.
A lot of food recommendations.
A lot of food recommendations. It's going to make you hungry if you listen to this podcast, though. So however you listen to this podcast, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, whatever podcast player, search for The Utah Foodie. Download it, subscribe, check them out. Let them know you heard about the recommendation on this podcast.
Yeah.
The Utah Foodie Podcast. Run down the list, though, Chrissy, on how people can get a hold of us here in the world of I Am Salt Lake.
All right. Well, you can always visit our website, iamsaltlake.com, or old-fashioned email,
old-fashioned email.
It's old-fashioned now. Come on. Social media, email. You can find us on social media too. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
But what were our emails?
Our emails are you are Chris at iamsaltlake.com and I am Chrissy at iamsaltlake.com.
Excellent. We have a voicemail that you can leave a voicemail or text. Nobody will ever pick up this number, 385-202-5926. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your voices.
Leave us a message.
Let us know you're listening. Let us know you are out there. Otherwise, this is all done for nothing. Anyway.
Or our entertainment.
You guys have a great week. Get out and enjoy the city. Love the city. Buy local.
I was just going to say, buy local.
All right, guys. You have a great week. Bye now.